You know that feeling, right? You're staring at a completely frozen screen. You furiously fill out a tech request. Out of pure, unadulterated frustration, you aggressively click Submit Ticket, and then you just kind of wonder what actually happens next. Does it just vanish into some IT black hole? Is a real human actually reading it? Well, today we're going to uncover exactly what goes on behind the scenes of that single click. Welcome to this explainer on the absolutely fascinating life cycle of a help desk ticket. We're going to trace what you might call the hero's journey of a support ticket, from its messy, usually chaotic inception, all the way to its clean, fully documented resolution. And what we'll actually discover is that help desk operations are this perfect, honestly beautiful blend of really rigid technical organization and highly nuanced human psychology. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. Number 1, the ticketing system backbone. 2, measuring success with SLAs and KPIs. 3, AI in the help desk. 4, mastering customer communication. And finally, number 5, the art of documentation. Basically, we're bridging the gap here between cold, hard software and warm, messy human interactions.
All right, so Chapter 1, the ticketing system backbone. And this brilliantly illustrates the contrast between doing things the old way and doing them the right way. Imagine a manual queue. It is literally like an unmanaged bottleneck on a factory production line. Tickets just pile up everywhere, requests get totally lost in the shuffle, and, understandably, users get incredibly angry. But you bring in a modern ticketing system, and suddenly you have centralized tracking, you get objective prioritization, meaning the system automatically directs attention to, say, high-impact server outages way before it looks at low-priority inquiries. Plus, it gives you multi-channel support, gathering requests from emails, phone calls, web forms, and live chats, all funneled into one neat, organized dashboard. Let's walk through the actual chronological life cycle of a ticket. It all kicks off with intake, right? That's where your request is first captured. From there, it immediately moves into validation, just so the technician can evaluate, hey, is this actually valid or is it spam that needs to be tossed? Once it's confirmed, we hit the investigation phase. This is where we gather data, analyze system behavior, maybe check some error codes, and ultimately this all leads to resolution. This is where the tech decides, can I solve this right now at Tier 1, or does this actually need to be escalated to a senior technician at Tier 2? But make no mistake, every single ticket follows this exact structured path. Okay, Chapter 2, measuring success, SLAs and KPIs. Now, IT teams can't just fix things whenever they feel like it, right? There are strict rules. The absolute core of this accountability is the SLA, or its service level agreement. These are formal, hard commitments that set exact time targets for acknowledging and resolving an issue, and it's based entirely on priority. SLAs are honestly brilliant for managing customer expectations. Because of SLAs, an IT team knows for a fact that a high-priority system outage affecting an entire department, that requires a response in 30 minutes. Whereas a low-priority request, like, say, a simple password reset, that might have a more relaxed 24-hour response target. Now, while SLAs set the targets, KPIs, key performance indicators, are how we actually measure the execution. We look at a few main ones. First response time, or FRT, which is exactly what it sounds like, how fast a human actually acknowledges your ticket. Then there's first contact resolution, or FCR. This is basically the holy grail of IT, fixing your problem on the very first try without any escalations whatsoever. We also track MTTR, mean time to resolve, which measures the total duration from creation all the way to closure. And finally, CSAT, or customer satisfaction, which measures the user's actual feelings and sentiment once the dust settles. Out of all those metrics we just talked about, it turns out this one number is a massive benchmark. Industry standard first contact resolution, that FCR we mentioned, targets 70 to 75% for a Tier 1 service desk. Now, why does this matter so much? Well, resolving a ticket on the very first touch drastically lowers the entire ticket backlog. It prevents the queue from getting completely congested. Ultimately, hitting that 70 to 75% mark means you're operating with way higher efficiency and you have much, much happier customers. Chapter 3, AI in the help desk. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the clear division of labor here. You see, you really have to think of artificial intelligence not as a replacement for technicians, but as an incredibly fast, highly intelligent assistant that just handles all the initial heavy lifting. The machine excels at instant triage. It matches patterns to auto-resolve simple things via the knowledge base, and it detects widespread outages before human agents even notice something's wrong. But the human technician is absolutely vital for those ambiguous edge cases, those complex multi-step hardware fixes, and honestly, most importantly, providing real empathy and de-escalating frustrated users. AI does the high-speed sorting. Humans do the complex solving and the empathizing. So today's AI capabilities are completely eliminating those old manual dispatcher bottlenecks. Natural language processing can actually scan a user's frantic, messy text to automatically categorize and prioritize it. Meanwhile, automated chatbots instantly deflect routine issues, like, basic VPN credential checks. AI will even draft tailored email responses for technicians to just quickly review, which cuts response times down to literal seconds. It also analyzes historical data to suggest the most probable fix, ensuring the ticket is intelligently routed to the exact technician with the right skill set and availability. It's a total game changer. Moving on to Chapter 4, Mastering Customer Communication. So once that intelligently routed ticket lands on a technician's desk, we transition from the cold, lightning-fast logic of AI right into the warm, incredibly messy psychological reality of dealing with a frustrated human being. The first tool in a technician's belt here is knowing exactly how to ask a question. The golden rule for active listening is to start with open-ended questions, things beginning with what, why, or how. This gathers rich context without leading the user at all, like, what problems are you experiencing right now? Once you have that broad context, you pivot sharply to closed-ended questions. These begin with are, can, do, or have. You do this to verify specific facts and isolate the fault. For example, are you currently logged into the company network? Now, technicians also have to navigate some wildly different personalities out there. Got a highly talkative customer? You use the 1-minute rule. Let them speak completely uninterrupted for a whole minute. But whatever you do, do not ask social questions like, how is your day going? Or you will literally never get them off the phone. Now, for a knowledgeable customer, you want to share your high-level diagnostic strategy rather than insulting their intelligence by forcing them through rigid scripts. Don't ask them if it's plugged in if they already know their stuff. And if a customer is just downright rude, you have to maintain control. Offer to transfer them to a preferred technician if you can, and never, ever take their hostility personally or mirror their anger. So the crucial point is perfectly captured in this amazing story about a highly angry customer named Barbara. She called in furious, just venting about a massive wait time and claiming her life's work, this novel she was writing, was permanently locked inside her dead computer. Now, the technician let her vent completely uninterrupted. And through that furious venting, Barbara casually revealed that she had left the laptop alone with her sister's kids. She eventually admitted that she went back to the laptop, the lid was closed, and there was literally peanut butter smeared all over it. Because the technician showed uninterrupted empathy, didn't cut her off, and didn't argue about whose fault it was, they completely de-escalated the situation and discovered the actual physical cause of the problem. Let's move to and see how this spills into our final section. Chapter 5. The art of documentation. So, how do we translate that messy human interaction back into cold, hard data? Well, post-call documentation has to follow a very chronological, objective flow. You start by summarizing the issue clearly, just in 1 or 2 sentences. Next, you meticulously log the exact troubleshooting steps you took, and you record both what worked and what completely failed. From there, you highlight the final resolution, or the next steps if you're escalating it, and finally, you ensure absolute confidentiality by scrubbing any personal details out of the record. Writing these objective, step-by-step notes without any emotional language is absolutely crucial. It completely eliminates redundant work for the next technician who inevitably encounters that exact same error. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. Why do we actually go through all this trouble? How does meticulously documenting today's peanut butter disaster actually prevent tomorrow's IT meltdown? Well, it's because effective documentation doesn't just solve the immediate issue in front of you. It transforms a single, isolated interaction into a permanent asset inside the organization's knowledge base. By capturing accurate data today, you are actively building the operational resilience that allows AI and future technicians to resolve tomorrow's crises in mere seconds. And honestly, that is the true hero's journey of a support ticket. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, stay curious.